Story 1, Drawing Blood. I think there's a phobia with it, and I don't freak out, but just thinking about getting my blood drawn makes me want to fold my arms to cover my veins. Much more so my blood than someone else's, but I still don't like to see someone else getting a needle put in either or on TV. Zero problems with blood in general, just the needle in vein part. So, seeing drug in vein use in movies bothers me too. When I go to get blood drawn, I have to look away and I'm very still so I don't make it take any longer. But yes, I get sweaty and I'm sure my heart rate is way high when it's happening. I remember in middle school, I once asked the doctor to punch me in the nose to get blood rather than by needle. He didn't seem to think that was viable, though. Story 2. When people add water to mayonnaise or other sauces to get all of it out, seeing it makes me gag. And before you say I must not have grown up poor, I did. That is how I know I find it revolting. Story 3. Balls of cotton make my skin crawl. They resemble tiny, wicked balls. The sound they make when you rub them together is another story entirely. Shudders. Story 4. Microfiber cloths, like the inexpensive ones you get for drying cars, can be especially uncomfortable if you have even slightly dry skin. They tend to snag all over your hands, feeling absolutely vile. Story 5. Claymation movies make me feel queasy. Puppets are a close second, but there are some exceptions. Yes to the Muppets, no to the Dark Crystal. I guess it's the Uncanny Valley effect. Story 6. The dark is such a bizarre phobia because realistically, I know there's nothing there, but my lizard brain freaks out. It's not gross or anything, just terrifying. Story 7. Dirty dishwater, like the dirty water left after you've washed dishes. Particularly if the water has changed color or if there are bits of food floating in it. Just the thought of it makes me want to puke. If the water drains out and there are bits of food and dirt stuck together in the drain cover, I will immediately gag. It's not so much the sight of it, but rather the minute I look at it. The first thing my mind thinks of is, what if you took that and dumped it in your mouth and tried to swallow it? And that thought literally makes me gag just thinking about it. I'm gagging just typing this out. I don't know why, but despite the fact that I hate it, it's the first thing my brain thinks of when I see dirty water. Story 8. Throwing up scares me. I panic when I feel the slightest bit of nausea because I hate the feeling of it so much. I will do everything I can not to have to throw up when I am sick. I know it is better to let your body get rid of things, but I absolutely freak out and feel like I will die and that the feeling will not ever stop. Even though I know from many experiences, I feel better usually after. Story 9. Cold sores are extremely common and not very serious. Yet, the fear of them made me nearly agoraphobic and gave me panic attacks for several months, during which I had to perform ritualistic cleaning behaviors to self-soothe. Yes, I am in therapy now. Story 10. I am afraid of clowns. It started when my mom hired a clown for my 7th birthday party. I know it is an irrational fear, but there is just something terrifying about the crazy hair, makeup, baggy pants, and the oversized shoes. Story 11. Seeing any form of fluid or anything coming out of a baby's mouth, nose, or any other part of them is distressing to me. Needless to say, this is one of the factors that contribute to my never wanting children in my life. And if I do end up having children, it's going to be challenging to try to have my wife handle everything that is medically related or cleaning related with our child. I know this sounds very absurd, disrespectful, and childish, but I just can't handle it. I truly just can't. It's so utterly disgusting, and honestly, it makes me a bit mad as well when I see it. Story 12. When people walk behind me, it's especially bad in restaurants when I can't have my back to the wall or while trick-or-treating with my child. Chaperoning the school dance was also an absolute nightmare. Story 13. House centipedes. The little fuzzy creatures that lurk in North American basements. I'm fine with spiders, bugs, and other creepy crawlies. I know that centipedes are harmless to humans, at least the ones in the northern United States, and that they eat other gross bugs. But they're so fast, and they have entirely too many legs. Too many legs. I almost cried when I found one under my office desk last week. Story 14. Scraping off ice. In the winter, when I have to scrape the ice off my car, I cringe. It doesn't make sense, but it makes my teeth hurt. This is kind of equivalent to nails on a chalkboard. And I hate popsicles. Story 15. When a pump bottle of lotion, shampoo, or similar products gets that dried plug that comes out when you dispense it, it literally makes me gag. This happened after getting that piece from a pump bottle of vanilla flavor in a Sonic milkshake. Story 16. Childbirth. Maybe irrational isn't an accurate descriptor, as millions of women still die from it every year. However, it's definitely something ordinary and natural that I've been disgusted and terrified of since I was a child. Story 17. When someone cuts nails, I find it disgusting if they do it on the floor. My husband's family will use a pillow to catch the fallen nails and then throw them out. I always feel like throwing up. Story 18. Birds. I was bitten by an emu at a petting zoo when I was 5. To this day, I'm now 28 when I'm going to the pet store to get food and cat litter. I walk on the opposite side of the store from where the birds are to avoid them. I was on a class trip to New York in my junior year, and while we were walking down the street, a pigeon flew right by my head, so close that I could feel the air from its wings beating. I screamed, dropped to the ground, and started sobbing. It was embarrassing. Story 19. Things without limbs, such as eels, snakes, slugs, and worms, among others. Just wriggling around creeps me out. Paraplegic people, not at all. Also, animals walking backwards. It's unnatural and creepy. Story 20. I'm not OCD, but I really hate having dirty hands. Apparently, I've always been this way. My mom tells the story of preschool when the teachers told her, "We did finger painting today, but he refused. We gave him a sponge to paint with. My wife used to write notes in pen on the back of her hand. I made her stop before we could get married. It made me gag a bit." Story 21. The Miley Cyrus song Flowers was all over TikTok and social media in early 2023. I liked it until I had to go into a hospital in a city quite far from home for major cancer surgery. I think the song must have been playing on the radio during my taxi ride to the hospital. I was beyond anxious as the surgery had a high mortality rate, and I knew my life was going to be changed forever as a result of the surgery. I didn't realize I had an issue with the song until several weeks after discharge from the hospital, where I was there for over 2 months. I was in a supermarket when the song came on. I felt sick and started shaking. I had to abandon my trolley, or cart for Americans, and wait outside the store until I was sure the song had stopped. If I hear it while flicking through TikTok or similar platforms, I immediately have to click out of that app to avoid it. I didn't realize a song could give you post-traumatic stress disorder, but I think it can. Story 22. Birds. I have been attacked by them a statistically improbable amount of times, with quite a few of the attacks happening as a child. I am legitimately afraid of them now. Story 23. Empty store shelves with all of those metal holders sticking out of them. It hurts my eyes to walk down them. It feels like they are all poking my eyes. Story 24. I am irrationally terrified of balloons. The popping sound is so jarring, and even the sight of them can make me anxious. It is not the balloons themselves, but the potential for them to burst suddenly that gets me. I have tried to work on it, but it still makes me uneasy. Story 25. Nail files. I cannot stand the feeling of it when it is close to my skin, but overall, it is an ick. I can do the nail grinders, though, for a manicure. Story 26. Coming into contact with other people's hair. If there is a hair in my food, I go into full-blown panic. If there is a stray hair on me, I also panic. Sometimes I'm a little grossed out by my own hair. It depends. Story 27. Hearing or seeing other people brushing their teeth. The sound makes my skin crawl, and I always have to close a door or just go somewhere else just so I don't have to hear it. Story 28. I am extremely disgusted by the feeling of freshly washed and dried jeans on my hands, specifically the really rough men's work pants. I hate it so much that I will be in sensory agony for several hours after touching them. Story 29. My house blowing up or starting fire. Had a house fire in 2006 while I was in it and barely escaped with the clothes on my back. And I definitely have post-traumatic stress disorder from the experience. Story 30. The feeling of fleece or cotton balls on your hands and nails getting caught on cotton balls and fleece is unpleasant. Oh, and the feeling and sound of dry or calloused hands on, well, unprocessed planks of wood. When it's dry and has splinters and stuff. Sorry, my English is failing me. The sound of dry hands on paper is also unpleasant. When it's my own dry hands, the feeling is unpleasant but manageable. I have a lot of sensory issues, but these are really annoying ones. Story 31. Chewing on something made of cotton. The feeling it gives you on your teeth and tongue is the most disgusting and odd sensation ever. It's kind of like nails on a chalkboard if you could eat it. Story 32. I absolutely hate needles, so whenever I have to get blood work or a shot, I have to tell the person doing it that they are going to want to have a trash can next to me because I will throw up afterward. Yes, I am fine with needles now, but I still can't watch it go into my vein or into my arm because I will start clenching my arm to the point where I end up with a small black and blue mark. The one time I was in the emergency room for a psych evaluation, they did blood work and I had told the lady about to do my blood draw that I am going to look away, but she cannot count down to when she's going to stick it in because it will make me want to clench my arm before she can get it in. I also told her that she might want to grab something for me to puke in. I am fine once the needle is in. I can watch the blood go into the vial, but I can't watch the needle get stuck in me. The other difficult part is they can only use the vein on my left arm because it is the only viable vein. My right arm does have a vein, but you can't stick a needle in it because it doesn't get plump or anything, so they are stuck using my left one repeatedly. Even if I don't clench my arm, I still end up with a black and blue mark from blood work because they most likely stuck me in a way they shouldn't have, and I end up with one. Story 33. Wet fruit. Not touching it because that is a sensory issue and is not irrational at all. However, I cannot look at orange peel, banana skins, or apple cores without wanting to vomit. Story 34. Human sweat and associated body odor. It is why I absolutely cannot do team sports or work out in gyms where there are other people around. One whiff of most other people's aromas and I feel like vomiting. So, I am forced to exercise in natural or open areas where there are fewer such scents, or even take runs in the rain so the raindrops cover it. But, somehow, if I am attracted to a particular woman, I am not put off by her sweaty odors. There is something weird going on in my head. Story 35. Styrofoam. Touching it, the noise it makes when it squeaks against itself, I hate it. It feels like a combination of nails on a chalkboard and smelling something nasty, even though it doesn't actually have a smell. I won't get takeout from restaurants that use it. Story 36. My navel being touched makes me want to die every time. It makes me want to throw up and my heart rate goes up just typing this. And yes, I wash myself, but that doesn't count. Story 37. Pregnancy. I don't find pregnancy to be beautiful. I've never touched another woman's pregnant belly, and I have zero interest in hearing about someone's birth story or birth plan. I will happily hold the baby once it is born, but the idea of pregnancy really freaks me out. No surprise, I've never been pregnant. Story 38. This one is weird, but gyms and stores for the general public and people wearing shoes inside that they walked outside in. They don't have flip-flops or a second pair of shoes to change from. Story 39. Technically, I have a phobia of bridges, but I'm going to go with seafood since people are more confused about it. I have come around to certain American sushi, and my dad makes a great tuna ramen casserole that I can stomach if I can get past the smell that particular day. But I do apologize, I can't stand to even smell or look at most seafood, let alone come to the idea of eating it. Story 40. Metal silverware. The sound it makes against anything makes me want to rip my head off. Sensory issues are fun. Honorable mention. Microfiber towels. Story 41. Being the first one to enter any door, whether it's a car, elevator, or room when I'm with someone, I need them to go first, otherwise I get shivers. I'm okay going when alone. Littering. People chewing on nails in public. Majorities making decisions for minorities. Story 42. I don't know how to call it, but when people shave and they have like these stubbles a few days later. I don't judge it, just makes me feel weirdly disgusted as if the hair is ripping thickly through the skin afresh. Story 43. Bristles, like on a toothbrush. It sounds dramatic, but in all seriousness, just the thought of biting down on them literally provokes a visceral disgust response. Story 44. Imagine all the unknown it has been through since it was purified by the city. Also, tap water tastes terrible. I got a good in-home filtration system. Now, the water comes out tasting like nothing. Story 45. Metal straws. It's just the texture that really makes me feel weird. Metal straws on teeth or on the bottom of a glass cup is like a fork scratching a chalkboard. Story 46. I am petrified of moths. It is a genuine phobia. Tiny little ones I can catch in my hand or catch in a glass and release outside. I can't sleep if I know there's a tiny moth in my house, but I can deal with them mercifully. Large moths, though, give me the absolute chills. For them, I'm afraid there is no mercy. I don't know what it is about them, but they just don't seem to remind me of an animal, and they don't move in a way I expect an animal to move. It's like my brain stores moth. In the same place it stores little ghost or little vampire. Story 47. Men with buns. Long tails are all right, but most of the time it's that gross bun. Such a distasteful hairstyle. I really have to puke seeing it. Please no hair buns on guys. A pistol shot before an elastic band on your head. Please. I find it pukingly disgusting. Story 48. Community food or potlucks. Why hasn't anyone else said this? People sharing food is disgusting. Hands in bags, touching utensils one after another over and over. Picking at food other people brought from their home or from a store. Food left out for hours for sticky, dirty fingers to keep touching over and over. Food buffets are the same. Absolutely disgusting.